This week, Mod James shoots your questions at the team behind Batch 2 of the Elven City.
Hi guys, I'm Mod James, and today I'm lucky enough to sit down with some of the mods behind Batch 2 of the Elf City. So, question number 1 coming in from Elf Carantir. What changes have been made to part 1 of the city after feedback?
Lots of little things, like you can replay the entrance cutscene. There's been a well added to the Cruis area. The Imcando pickaxe will now incinerate corrupted ore. Lots of little stuff.
Miu asks, what farming patches will be in part 2 of the city?
So there's an existing farming patch type, which is the fruit tree patch. There are also 4 new farming patches which do something a little bit different to your traditional farming. So they're called Harmony Pillars. They're massive stone obelisks that are in the ground. You collect moss seeds and you plant the moss at the base of the pillar, and then the moss grows as you gain experience in other skills. So you rake the patch, and it may be a smithing patch, for example. So you plant your seed there, and then as you get smithing XP, the moss grows up the pillar, and then when it reaches cap, you harvest it and you get some moss out of it, which is used to make potions.
Ryan Stark asks, what has been the biggest challenge when adapting the Elf City concept into reality?
I think the biggest challenge, apart from the fact that the city is so big, it's one of the largest areas we've ever done, but the biggest problem was the sense of scale and the really, really tall towers, trying to get those in-game and having the player walk up to them and make sure the player can see enough. I think that was the hardest part of the project for us.
Frank 2017 asks, is there any specific reason why some of the crystals used around the city were not used on the top of the buildings like some of the concept art?
Yeah, we did want to put some gameplay associated with the crystals at the top of the towers, but one of the things that we did when we did early playtests was you just couldn't see them because they were so high, and you really had to move your camera and really know where to look in order to find them. And so we thought, because they were so far away, we decided to not include them.
The Real Quaid asks, what can we expect to see from the 2 Dungeoneering resource dungeons?
There's absolutely loads of content in these 2 new dungeons. I'll pick some of my favourite parts out from you. Their level 95 dungeon includes the Garajo Hordestalker. He will once a day give you a card that you can take into a Dungeoneering dungeon, which will give you an effect of some kind. There's quite a few of them. There's also group cards in there which will affect your entire party. In the 115 dungeon we've got the Edamu. The Edamu room is only accessible if you're on a Slayer task to kill Edamu, and they are pretty tough to kill, but they have an excellent drop table and some really awesome stuff on there.
Ratiplan asks, what kind of rewards will be available from the Motherlode Moor and where can it be found?
So the Motherlode Moor is within the 115 resource dungeon. You need to have the 115 Dungeoneering to get in there. The sort of rewards it gives are based around helping players to complete their completion escape requirements. It drops these really awesome things called enhancers, and there's various different ones. You keep them in your inventory and they help you to do things like get the gold tickets in Castle Wars. So if you are in a game that you wouldn't get a gold ticket, if you have this enhancer with you, you get double tickets. And they have charges.
Jamie0208 asks, will the blue crystals that hold the city together change colour once the city has finished growing?
So as of the new launch on Monday, the city will be finalised in its current state. We're going to keep the city a mixture of blue and white. So the more finalised architecture of the houses will be white, but the more solid bases are going to stay blue. That represents more of the organically grown crystal, just like the existing blue crystal tree.
Morgan asks, with the Ithel clan opening, will the player and house portal be moving?
The player and house portal will move to the Ithel area. There'll be a bank chest about the same distance away from it. There's also a sawmill operator who sells Keldegrim, stonemason construction materials, so it's a very convenient place to do your construction.
Ibody asks, how will the new combat divination training work?
So within the Amlot section of the city there's a big crater. Around that crater there are shadow creatures of 3 different tiers. Obviously the combat level is different on each one. They drop cores from themselves, which you then purify in the crater for divination experience, and you have a chance to get a light core in return, which is used to make a new familiar.
So how will this compare with some of the current AFK divination training methods?
So it's less AFK because you've got the combat element involved in it, but you get the nice balance of combat XP and divination XP. It mixes things up a little bit from your traditional divination. You've also have the chance to get the Shadow Creature on a Slayer task, so you can introduce that Slayer XP element in there as well.
So that's it for all the questions. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to answer them.
You're very welcome.
We're happy to do it.
Thanks. And you guys can look forward to seeing Elf City Batch 2 in-game next week.
We'll be back next week with more of this month's biggest updates.